Are we live? Are we ready? We ready?
Live. We're live, Dr. Tina. It's good to see you.
Oh, I love it. Well, I'm going to jump right in, Helen, because you know what? Did you know that you, as a woman, you can live completely full within your own self and still be able to give to your husband and your kids, not have to take from them in order to do so?
Where did that even come from, Dr. Tina? Because a lot of us, we feel like we do have to choose between the two. Either we're celebrating ourselves and not honoring our husbands, or vice versa. Like, how did
Mhm.
that conviction even come across to you?
Well, it actually came from a moment where, for me, I was in a state of total, utter emptiness. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. I was crying, sitting at my desk. I didn't know how I was going to do everything. And I had this moment, Helen, where the presence of God completely filled my office. And God began to speak to me. And the Lord began to show me within my own life where my thinking was wrong. I had been trained wrong. I had been trained wrong. I was performing wrong. I was giving wrong. I was completely doing everything that I had been handed, like so many of us have, thinking that I was doing it right. But God made one statement to me that completely revolutionized all of my thinking as He said, you can honor man and you can celebrate woman. You do not have to choose between. You don't have to pick. You can do both. And when Holy Spirit spoke that word onto the inside of me, you know how when God speaks, all of a sudden, this capacity, this knowing, this ability absolutely gets dropped onto the inside of you? That's what began to happen in me right there. But Helen, I know that I shared that with you, and then I invited you on this journey. So your answer is different than mine. Do you want to share how you would answer that question? How do you honor your own self, honor your husband, but still celebrate who you are and not
Hmm.
have to choose between the two?
Well, to be completely transparent, that took me a year to figure out what that statement even meant. It took me a year from the first time that you said that. Honoring man while celebrating woman. My first question was, well, how do you even celebrate woman? Because that's not something that I had ever done. How do you celebrate woman? I don't celebrate myself. In fact, I was taught like that's not a good thing to do as a believer. Don't celebrate yourself. So how do you celebrate? If I can't celebrate myself, how do I celebrate woman? And honoring man, well, through some experiences, that was a hard one too.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to do a lot of digging to even just learn and know that in Proverbs 31 woman, the Proverbs 31 woman, she is to be praised. I remember you telling me that. And I was like, I've read this chapter so many times and I never heard it that way before. I'd never heard of that way before, that we're actually meant to be praised.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I realized that, okay, so if I'm supposed to, and I accept and I believe what God says about me, and I celebrate who He has created me to be, now, because you can only give what you have received first, now I could look at my husband and at all the other men around and say, okay, so how can I honor man? What does
Mm-hmm.
it even look like? So I had to learn how to do that. And so practically for me, I went through this whole journey of just going through the Bible and realizing, okay, what can I honor about man? Because man and woman together, they represent who God is.
Yeah.
Both of us are created in his image and in his likeness. Both of us, not just one of us. And so both of us together, if I can honor him, and I can actually get behind him, get behind the men in my life, and just accelerate and just completely be on board with where they are called to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I can ask for the same for myself, or just expect that both of us, we're on the same team. There's
Yeah.
no competition now. There's literally us being on the same team and me honoring where he's called to go. And that, when we speak that out, that does something to them. That does
Mm-hmm.
something to them, respecting where they are. And then also knowing that in the same time, I'm celebrating who I am. And if I can do that, that means that he is going to be able to see the fruit of that as well. Does that make
Mm.
sense how I answer that?
Yep. Absolutely, it does. Yeah. Can I take us one step deeper and just bring us into something that the Bible actually talks about? And that is that we as women are meant to be the crown to our husband.
Mm.
We're meant to be the crown to our husband. And so the day that verse right there, if I'm going to honor Scott and I'm going to celebrate my own self, if I don't give myself permission to be that crown, a crown that can be seen, if I don't give myself permission to be that crown that is beautiful, if I don't give myself permission to be that crown that is something of extreme value, the kingship of my husband is not going to be recognized if I don't give myself permission to go ahead and be upon the head of who he is, to be the crowning of him. And notice how the king's head and the crown are not in competition with each other, Helen. They're not in competition. They're meant to be together. So even so many times where we hear that, the verse talking about how the husband is the head and how that has been used to be abusive. Well, as soon as you understand that the wife is meant to be the crown of that amazing head, now all of a sudden you can begin to see a completely different picture different than what I was given. But now, as I was studying the word for myself, I saw it in a completely different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely agree. One of the verses that really intrigued me was a Proverbs 31 woman, where it says that her husband was known in the gates. What does that have to do with a woman? And knowing that us honoring and celebrating each other, that lifts our partner up. It just does. Right. So I love that. I love that answer.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Let's go on to the next one. I have one more question for you.
Okay.
Okay. So the other question, if there's a woman that is sitting here right now, listening either to the replay or live, and they're nodding in agreement where they get this, and this is a woman who is fully capable, she's been serving, she's been pouring out, she's a trusted woman, and yet she's quietly feeling empty and just hasn't voiced that yet. What would you want her to know? What would you say to her on this? And what would you want to speak to her personally? What would you say to her?
The very first thing I would say to you, that woman who's thinking that way, is, oh my goodness, I've been exactly where you've been. I've been exactly where you are. I've been in that place of, I absolutely love my husband. I absolutely love my kids. I love to be able to serve everybody around me. And yet, how do I continue to do that when I am so empty? How do I continue to fulfill all of the expectations, the obligations, the even desires of my own heart to be able to do? But how do I do that from empty? I think as soon as we can recognize as women that is not something that means that we're doing something wrong, but if we can recognize that it just means we actually have a pouring issue, we need to learn how, we need to be taught how to begin to pour into ourselves. We need to learn and recognize that pouring into ourselves is actually going to allow us to pour into our husband more, allow us to pour into our children more, our church more, the community around us more. As soon as we can begin to identify that, then I would be the very first one to say, raise your hand and say, hey, who wants help in order to learn how to do that with a whole group of other women who are also desiring to do the same thing? Because if we're going to be honest with each other and actually get real as to how it feels as a woman to be able to be a woman, to be a wife, to be a mom, to be an entrepreneur, to be a business person, to be a daughter, to be a friend, to do all of those different roles that we have, we do every one of them so impeccably. Mm-hmm. At some point, you have to stop and go, well, then how am I filling myself back up so I can continue to do all of those things?
Yeah.
I want that woman to be able to look at us, Helen, and go, oh, they totally get what I feel on the inside of me. I'm not crazy. This is real.
Yeah.
How about you? What would you want them to hear?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind when I thought about this question was, it feels like there's a pendulum swing that I went through, and that I think that many women are feeling. Well, the self-help movement has been so big, and that has looked like neglecting everything just to take care of myself. Yeah. And nobody wants that, and I don't want that. And so, what's the right view to see this through? And so, I would say to you, if you're watching this, number one, you're doing an incredible job pouring. You're doing an amazing job as being a wife. You're doing an amazing job as a mom, as an entrepreneur, all of the hats that you're wearing. You're doing an amazing job at stewarding every single one of those. Mm-hmm. And so that means you know how to pour into people. You know how to do that. That's a skill that you have. That's a skill that you know how to do. And so what I would say then to you personally is, now you're so good at stewarding everyone else. Now you get to steward yourself,
Mhm.
your own heart. And I can attest to this, Dr. Tina. Do you remember the text that I sent you a while back that I said, I feel like I have more time? I feel like I have more time, and I don't know how that even works. It's not even
Yeah.
logical. I have more time to have play dates with my kids one on one. I don't know
Mhm.
how it works, but I just stopped carrying what was not mine to carry. And so for you women that are sitting here and listening and saying like, how does that even happen? It does. You know how to do that. And so I just I get it. I get
Mhm.
it. And so know that if you feel empty, that is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's not. You're doing an amazing job. That's how I'd answer that question.
Helen, this is why I love that we're going to be able to get together on Wednesday and on Thursday, August 5th and August 6th, where we're pulling in all of these women who are saying, hey, that's me. That's me. I'm ready to partner together with a whole company of other women who want to be able to say, it's not something I'm doing wrong, but it is something that I want to learn how to do. I want to learn how to pour into myself more so that I can give more into all of these different areas. That's what you first stands for. We're going to pour into ourselves so that we can pour into. And that's what we are taught. So, August 5th, August 6th from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. You guys do the time zone for yourself. We want you to come, we want you to jump in with the hundreds of other women who are going to be a part of taking this journey with us. And we don't want anybody to be left out in that place of having to try to figure it out on your own. Why do that when we've already created the exact path for people to follow and we can do it together? So I want
Exactly.
everybody to be a part of that.
Yeah. Same. Same. When we talked about this, I know we want to end it here, but realizing that when you can be in the same room and you get to just let the walls down and be able to share heart to heart, like these are the hard things. These are the hard things that I learned. I shared a little bit about that on yesterday's video. There's some things that I learned the hard way that I don't want you guys to have to learn the hard way. I don't want that, and so I'm excited to welcome every single one of you in and to do this journey with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, get registered. It's a free event. We want to see you there. We want to be able to give into you, the woman who is giving into everybody else. We'll see you soon.
Bye.